महान जू की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टतर शत शिशिमार भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Nitil Pavishram Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar. Is it live? Nitil Pavishram Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishram I don't know if it's live or not. Oh, it is. Okay, good. Nitil Pavishram Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar. Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishram Vishnupad Ashutara Shimar. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishra Maha Bhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishra Shila Satchar and Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishra Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nugagariya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. नाम आचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। Oh wait, I didn't check the calendar. 1 second. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Okay, it's nothing. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayanitti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratvishe namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tar Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Pravrajantam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahaka Tara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedus Tang Sarva Bhuta Hridayang Munimanatosmi. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva naruttamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Shrinvatang swakatha Krishna punya shavana kirtana ridantasto yabhadrani vidhunoti suhritsatam. Nashta prayeshvabhadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamang charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshay Kshiptashtakama Kripa mai tvam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charana ravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Let me just check the sound. Okay. Hari Bol, everybody. Hari Priya Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Ganga Mataji, Indira Mataji, Madhavi Didi, Gargaraj Ji, Bhavatarani Mataji, and Hari Prabhu. All right, so let's continue. Okay, let me go to database.io and we can read from here to recap. $47. Oops. Okay. Shukadeva Goswami said, the young women of Vraj became astonished upon seeing Lord Krishna's servant, who had long arms, whose eyes resembled a newly grown lotus, who wore a yellow garment and a lotus garland, and whose lotus-like face glowed with brightly polished earrings. Who is this handsome man? The gopis asked. Where has he come from, and whom does he serve? He's wearing Krishna's clothes and ornaments. Saying this, the gopis eagerly crowded around Uddhav, whose shelter was the lotus feet of Lord Uttamashloka, Sri Krishna. Bowing their heads in humility, the gopis duly honored Uddhav with their shy, smiling glances and pleasing words. They took him to a quiet place, seated him comfortably, and began to question him, for they recognized him to be a messenger from Krishna, the master of the goddess of fortune. The gopis said, We know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of the Yadus, and that you are the order of your good master, who desires to give pleasure to his parents. We see nothing else he might consider worth remembering in these cow pastures of Braj. Indeed, the bonds of affection for one's family members are difficult to break, even for a sage. The friendship shown towards others, those who are not family members, is motivated by personal interest and pretense that lasts only until one's purpose is fulfilled. Such friendship interests men take in women, or bees in flowers. Prostitutes abandon a penniless man, subjects an incompetent king, students their teacher once they have finished education, and priests a man who has remunerated them for a sacrifice. Birds abandon a tree when its fruits are gone, guests a house after they have eaten, animals a forest that has burnt down, and a lover the woman he has enjoyed, even though she remains attached to him. The gopis, whose words, bodies, and minds were fully dedicated to Lord Govinda, put aside all their regular work now that Krishna's messenger, Shri Uddhav, had arrived among them, remembering the activities of their beloved. Remembering the activities their beloved Krishna had performed in his childhood and youth, they sang about them and cried without shame. One of the gopis, while meditating on her previous association with Krishna, saw a honeybee before her and imagined it to be a messenger sent by beloved. Thus she spoke as follows. The gopi said, O honeybee, O friend of a cheater, don't touch my feet with your whiskers, which are smeared with the kumkum that rubbed onto Krishna's garland when it was crushed by the breast of a rival lover. Let Krishna satisfy the women of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu's assembly. After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. How is it, then, that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words. O Bee, why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Rose in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjuna in front of his new girlfriends, the burning desire in whose breasts he is now relieved. Those ladies will surely give you the charity you are begging. In heaven, on earth, or in the subterranean sphere, what women are unavailable to him? He simply arches his eyebrows and smiles with deceptive charm, and they all become his. The supreme goddess herself worships the dust of his feet. So what is our position in comparison? But at least those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttama Shloka. Keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you have come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who, for his sake alone, gave up their children, husbands, and other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? So now we continue. Mrigayuriva kapindram vivyade lubdva dharma striyamakrita virupam strijita kamayana balemapi balematva vishtaya dvangshalvadya stamalamasita sakyar Dustyajastat katartha. Like a hunter, he cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows. Because he was conquered by a woman, he disfigured another woman who came to him with lusty desires. Even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, he bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with this dark-complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him. Sārārtha-darśinī commentary by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Haribo Charu Di and Pradumna Prabhu Mantramurti Mataji and Sudevi Didi. Haribo. Okay, we're reading up to verse 29. Commentary. The bees seem to say, O Radha, as far as I can see in Mathura, soft-hearted Krishna is simply meditating upon you. Radha replied, You are simply an inexperienced servant. Because you are new to Mathura, you do not know the facts about Krishna. Not only is he cruel in this lifetime, but even in many previous lives he has been so, as we have heard from Purnamasi. When Krishna appeared as a Kshatriya in the form of Ram, he transgressed Kshatriya Dharma and mercilessly killed Vali, the king of the monkeys, by hiding behind a tree just like a hunter kills a deer. In this story, there is even more impiety because Krishna did not even adhere to the dharma of a hunter. The hunter never kills monkeys because their flesh is and so no one will buy it. Now listen to yet another instance of Krishna's irreligiosity. Overcome with lust, a woman named Shurparnaka once desired Ram, but Ram disfigured her by cutting off her nose and ears, so that no one else would want to enjoy with her. That was simply because of his cruel nature. Ram did not perform this cruel act because he was upholding a vow of celibacy while wearing matted locks and the dress of a renunciate, because at that time Ram was living with Sita, being conquered by her love. Similarly, when Krishna appeared previously as Vaman, a dwarf Brahman, he rejected the qualities of the Brahman, such as peacefulness and straightforwardness. After enjoying the offerings made by the pious King Bali, Vaman cast Bali down from his lordship of the three worlds into a hole below the earth. An alternative reading to this follows. Krishna deceitfully tied up Bali just like a crow. A crow devours the offerings meant for worship, and then, calling other crows, surrounds the woman doing puja and mock. Similarly, Vaman called his own people, who then surrounded Bali and tormented him. Enough of friendships with that black-complexioned man. For us golden-complexioned women, despite all the varieties of friendships we have had with Krishna, not one has proven auspicious. We should be extremely wary of Krishna because he has such an impure heart. Therefore, what use do we have for such a person? The bee seemed to say, but how is your heart pure if you are constantly criticizing others? Radha replied, talking about Krishna's activities in his past lives is hard to give up, even though it makes us unhappy. Though we should not be talking about Krishna, we cannot stop talking whether we criticize him or not. Another meaning. Though we have given him up, we cannot stop talking about him. As a subject is not mentioned in the phrase dustyajas tat katartha, impossible to give up topics about him, it infers that even for the best of munis, it is difficult to give up talking about Krishna's. Radha's describing the shooting of Bali indicates Krishna's ruthless, cruel nature. Being controlled by a woman indicates Krishna's lust. Accepting offerings indicates Krishna's fraud. And friendship with that black fellow, Asit Sakya, indicates fear and malice. And that Krishna is not worth becoming attached to. This speech of Radharani's is called Avajalpa, as described by Rupa Goswami in Ujjvala Nilamani, chapter 14, 192. Haro katinya kamitva dortyad asaktyayogyata yatra sershya bhikta so vajalpa satammata. Saintly persons have concluded that when a lover, impelled by jealousy and fear, declares that Lord Hari is unworthy of our attachment because of his harshness, lustiness, and dishonesty, such speech is called avajalpa. Yaranucharita lila karna piyusha viprut sakridadana viduta dvanda dharma vinashta saparigriha kutumbam dinamutsreja dina bahava iha vihanga Bhikshucharyam charanti. Bhikshucharyam charanti. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families, and, themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds, begging for their living. Commentary. In this verse, Radha says, but what is so remarkable about our suffering after establishing a relationship with Krishna? After all, just narrations of Krishna's pastimes create sorrow for the entire world. Radha said, just hearing about the pastimes Krishna performed at every moment is nectar for the ears. What to speak of the joy one gets by understanding their meaning? Even one drop of this nectar completely destroys the propensities of duality and the propensities of mutual friendship between women and men. If a wife hears discussions about Krishna, she immediately gives up affection for her husband, And if a husband hears them, he gives up affection for his wife. The same is also true for a child in connection with his mother and father. If a mother hears about Krishna, she loses all affection for her children. Thus, by this mutual rejection, they all become totally ruined. But in their ruination, there is not as much misery as in renunciation, as evidenced by the experience of ordinary society. Though the people who have developed a taste for Krishna's pastimes are soft-hearted, they also become hard-hearted, merciless, and ungrateful after hearing the pastimes of hard-hearted Krishna. Just by hearing about Krishna, they immediately give up their homes and families, including even their parents and sisters-in-law, who then suffer with no other means of support and without even enough money for the next day's food. Or else they abandon their families who are distraught by this separation and give them up to death with an offering of kush grass and water. Alas, alas, if we disregard, even if we disregard that their wives and children may die, even even they themselves fail to become happy. They are penniless after leaving their families, due to having forgotten to tie up even a few coins in their cloth, because of the agitation of their minds while leaving. This is not the case of a man. This is not the case of one man or two, or just 3 or 4 people. This has been the case with countless hundreds and thousands of people. If the alternate reading dhira is taken instead of dina, it means, in spite of seeing their wife cry, they are unmoved or hard-hearted. But it may be questioned, how do they maintain their lives? Radha answers, like birds, they live by begging, just collecting small amounts of wheat and other grains, rather than taking substantial charity from one person. The word Eva is often used instead of Iha. In that case, it means, they come begging here in Vrindavan, the place of suffering, and suffer even more in our association. But someone may object. Krishna Lila is like a poisonous mixture of sugarcane juice and powdered seeds of the Ṭhākura plant. The speaker of Krishna's pastimes is a murderer in the dress of a saint. The Puranas are a net. The speaker may be seen wandering from forest to forest with the Puranas tucked under his arm. Vyasa and others are the makers of this net, which teaches that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Radha replies, for this reason, Krishna has accepted the role of the Supreme, thinking, just like the gopis, I will make all people fall into the ocean of suffering. Indeed, seeing others suffering is Krishna's only happiness. As a result, Krishna must bear the consequence of giving such misery to others, not Vyasa and other sages. As we can see, there are thousands of implications in this verse. Through condemnation, Radha is indirectly praising Krishna, and thus establishing the super excellence of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotional service. By mentioning the example of the birds, Radha shows that it is appropriate to leave Krishna because he inflicts pain on innocent people. Such remorseful statements constitute abhijalpa, as defined by Srila Rupa Goswami in Ujjvala Nilamani 14.194. Bhangyatyagochiti tasya khaganam api kedanat yatra sanushayam prokta tarbhaved abhijalpitam. When a lover indirectly states with remorse that her beloved is fit to be given up because he is so cruel that he tortures even the innocent birds, such speech is called abhijalpa. Vayamritami vajihima vyahritam shadadana Koli karutami vagya Krishna vadvo harinya Dadrishura sakridetat Tanaka sparshativra smararuja upamantrin bhanyatam anyavarta. Faithfully taking his deceitful words as true, we became just like the black deer's foolish wives who trust the cruel hunter's song. Thus, we repeatedly felt the sharp pain caused by the touch of his nails. O messenger, please talk about something besides Krishna. The bee seemed to say, "Why did such intelligent ladies as you establish friendship with such a person as Krishna?" Radha said, "We were so foolish to such lying words of his as naparayeham niravadya samyujam. I can never repay my debt to you." That was in chapter 32, verse 22. So we were so foolish to accept those words as true. This is just like the wives of the black deer, who, by having faith in the song of the hunter, see the result of his song by feeling the striking of his arrow. Similarly, we also experience the sharp pangs of lust with the touch of Krishna's fingernails. We have been extremely foolish, since even after once seeing its consequence, we repeatedly trusted Krishna and had to again experience the result. This applies to the does as well. This applies to the does as well as to ourselves, who, in both cases, have had to suffer repeatedly a distressful condition because of their jealous pride. Therefore, O jester, speak of other things which will make us happy, for news of Krishna simply makes us suffer. The word upamantrin can mean messenger or jester, vidushaka. This verse is an example of ajalpa, which Srila Rupa Goswami defines thus. Jaimyam tasyarti dattvam cha nirvedad yatra kirtitam bhangyanya sukadattvam cha sa ajalpa udirita. A statement spoken in disgust, describing how a male lover is deceitful and brings one misery, and that one should stop talking about him and talk about something more pleasant instead, is known as ajalpa. That's from Ujjala Nilamani, verse 196, chapter 14. Priya saka punaraga preyasa preshitake varayake manurundhe maniyos simeyanga nayasi hasan dostyaja dvanda parshvam satatamurasi somya shirvado sakamaste. O friends of my dear one, has my beloved sent you here again? I should honor you, friend, so that you choose. I should honor you, friend. So please choose whatever boon you wish. But why have you come back here to take us to? Him, whose conjugal love is so difficult to give up? After all, gentle bee, his consort is the goddess Śrī, and she is always with him, staying upon his chest. Commentary. Though the bee was buzzing around near her, Radha, out of the madness of prem, could not find him. Not seeing him for a moment, Radha pondered remorsefully. Alas, alas, distressed by my harsh words, that messenger has gone off to Mathura and told everything that has happened to Krishna, who has now become indifferent to me. Giving up her quarrelsome mood, Radha stared at the path to Mathura and said, "Perhaps my beloved, the ocean of divine love and the crown jewel of all transcendental qualities, will again enter here." Suddenly seeing the bee, Radha said respectfully, "O friend of my beloved, you have come back again. Though wounded by the arrows of my words, due to your saintly nature, you have overlooked my offenses and returned. Can I understand that my beloved, out of intense love for me, has sent you here again, not considering my thousands of offenses? If that is so, then you should ask for whatever you wish. You should ask for whatever you wish from me, and I will fulfill your desire. O B, if you say, I want you to go to Mathura, then I will answer, yes, I will go to Mathura. After saying that, Radha thought, but if I go to Mathura and see my beloved surrounded by other women, I will become uncontrollably jealous. Thus Radha said, Nayasi Katam. Why are you taking me to Krishna, who cannot give up loving affairs? Thinking, the bee said, I swear that Krishna is all alone in Mathura. Radha replied, O gentle one of pure intelligence, Krishna's consort Lakshmi is always by his side, and moreover, always on his chest of the Lord. The goddess of fortune, Shri or Lakshmi, has the power to assume many different forms. Thus, when Krishna enjoys other women, she stays on his chest in the form of a golden line. Is this Radharani speaking? Anyways, when Krishna is not consorting with other women, Lakshmi puts aside this form and gives him pleasure in her naturally beautiful form of a young woman. Although Radhika respects the bee in this verse and accepts his statements as true, she then rejects them after showing how they are inappropriate. This is an example of pratijalpa, defined thus: Dustyaja dvandabhavesmin praptir narhyetun anudhatam dutta samanane dutta samana noktam yatra sa pratijalpaka. Sorry. Humble statements expressing respect for the messenger, but with refusal to meet Krishna because of his licentious relationships with other women is called pratijalpa. That's Ujjalini Amani 14.198. Oh, I recognize this verse. Maybe we read this in Jagannath Rath Yatra. No, I don't know. One second, let me just check everything's running okay. Oh, Hari Bol Gopikant Prabhu. Okay. Api Bhattamadhupuryam Aryaputro Dhunaste Smarati Sapitrigehan Somya Bandungscha Gopan Kvachirapi Sakatana Kinkarinam Grinite Pujama Guru Sugandam Murdna Dasyat Kadano. O Uddhav, it is indeed regrettable that Krishna resides in Mathura. Does he remember his father's household affairs and his friends, the cowherd boys? O great soul, does he ever talk about us, his maidservants? When will he lay on our heads his aguru-scented hand? Commentary, Radha thought, oh, in my madness, I have been talking, but I did not ask the questions I should have. Thus feeling remorse, Radha reverentially spoke this verse. Is the noble son of Nanda Maharaj now in Mathura? Just as Krishna left Vraj, will he also leave Mathura? Radha did not ask if Krishna was happy there, but simply asked if he was there. At this time, Srimati Radhika thought, since Krishna was once satisfied in Vraj, but left for Mathura city, won't he also develop a desire to leave that place and go somewhere else? Mathura is so close to Vrindavan that it isn't possible Krishna may even Mathura is so close to Vrindavan that it's possible Krishna may even come back here. Krishna is the son of a respectable gentleman, Nanda Maharaj, So he must be staying in Mathura because of his sense of obligation to his father, who authorized his going there. On the other hand, While Nanda's whole life is dedicated exclusively to Krishna, Nanda is so innocent that he allowed himself to be tricked by the Yadus who brought Krishna to Mathura. Krishna must be thinking, alas, alas, since even my father could not bring me back to Vraj, what can I do to return there? Thus Krishna must be impatient to come back here, and so he has sent you, a messenger. It is only because Nanda is so innocent that he allowed his son to leave. If Nanda had allowed Krishna's mother, the queen of Vraj, to do so, she would have climbed onto Akrura's chariot and, holding her son by the neck, gone off to Mathura with him, followed by all the gopis. But this was not possible. Ever since Krishna left, Nanda has been stunned by separation from him, and Nanda's treasury rooms, storehouses, kitchens, sleeping quarters, and opulent houses are now vacant. Unswept and uncleansed, they are littered with grass, dust, leaves, and cobwebs. Does Krishna ever remember his father's houses? And does he sometimes remember Suwal and his other friends, who are now lying stunned in other neglected houses? The women in Mathura who now associate with Krishna cannot know how to serve him in the way that pleases him most. When they see he is not satisfied and ask how they can make him happy, does he tell them about us gopis? Krishna must tell them, you city ladies cannot please me as much as the gopis of Vraj. They are most expert in stringing flower garlands, perfuming their bodies with ointments, playing various rhythms and melodies on stringed instruments, dancing and singing in their ras performance, displaying their beauty, charm, and cleverness, and skillfully playing at questions and answers. They are especially expert in the pastimes of meeting one's lover and in all the stages of prem, such as sneha, man, and pranay. Surely Krishna, therefore, he'll probably tell the women of Mathura, my dear women of the Yadu clan, please go back to your families. I no longer desire to associate with you. In fact, I'm going back to Vraj early tomorrow morning. When will Krishna speak like this and come back here to place his hand, fragrant with aguru, on our heads? Then he will console us, saying, O beloveds of my heart, I swear to you that I will never abandon you again and go elsewhere. Indeed, I have not been able to find anyone in all the three worlds with even a trace of your good qualities. The first line of this verse shows simplicity. The second line shows gravity in not mentioning oneself. And the third and fourth lines show humility, unsteadiness, and eagerness. This verse is an example of sujalpa, which Rupa Goswami defines thus: Yatrarjavat sagambhiryam sadainyam sahachapalam. Sotkantam cha hari prishta sa sujalpo nigadyate. When, out of honest sincerity, a lover inquires about Sri Hari with gravity, humility, unsteadiness, and intense eagerness, such speech is known as sujalpa. That's Ujjvala Nilamani 14,200. There are 10 divisions of divine madness, which are expressed by the 10 types of chitra jalpa, or variegated speech. These 10 types of madness appear in Radha in her manifestation of bewilderment, the most excellent part of Mahabhav. The following verses from Srila Rupa Goswami's Ujjvala Nilamani, chapter 14, verses 174, and then 178 to 180, explain these ecstasies. Prayo vrindavaneshwaryam mohanoyam udanchati etasya mohanakyasya gatim kam apyupeyushaha. Brahmabha kapi vaichitri devyonmara itiryate udghurna chitrajalpadyas tadbheda bhavo mata. Preshtasya suhridaloke gurarosha bijrimbita bhuri bhava mayo jalpo yasti vrot kantitanti Pratima. Chitrajalpadayam prajalpa parijalpita vijalpo jalpa sanjalpa ajalpo bhijalpa avajalpo bhijalpitam ajalpa pratijalpascha sujalpascheti kirtita. Mohana, the transcendental ecstasy of bewilderment, arises primarily in Radha and reaches an indescribable state resembling delusion. It is then called Divyon Mad. It has many aspects such as Udgun Chitra Jalpa. This ecstatic talk induced by seeing a friend, this ecstatic talk induced by seeing a friend of one's beloved and filled with covered anger culminates in extreme eagerness. There are 10 types of Chitra Jalpa, known as Prajalpa, Parijalpa, Vijalpa, Ujalpa, Sanjalpa, Avajalpa, Abhijalpa, Ajalpa, Pratijalpa, and Sujalpa. So we went through an example of each one of those, right? So far already in these verses. Some authorities say that Krishna assumed the form of the messenger bee, that Krishna himself assumed the form of the messenger bee in order to drink the sweetness of Radha's Chitra Jalpa. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ato dhavo nishamyaivam Krishna darshana lalasa Santvayan priya sandeshar Gopir idam abhashata. Shukadev Goswami said, having heard this, Uddhav then tried to pacify the gopis, who were most eager to see Lord Krishna. He thus began relating to them the message of their beloved. Shri Uddhava Uvacha Aho yuyam smapurnartha bhavatyo lokapujita vasudeve bhagavati yasyam ityarpitam mana. Shri Uddhav said, certainly you gopis are all successful and are universally worshipped because you have dedicated your minds in this way to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Commentary. Uddhav said, indeed you, whose minds are offered in this way to the Lord, are certainly successful. Other devotees also offer their minds to the Lord, but we do not see their minds offered in this way. Dana vrata tapohoma japa swadhyaya samyamai Shreyo bhir vividhaischanyai Krishne bhaktir hisadhyate. Devotional service unto Lord Krishna is attained by charity, strict vows, austerities, and fire sacrifices, by japa, study of Vedic texts, observance of regulative principles, and indeed by the performance of many other auspicious practices. Commentary. Devotion to Krishna can be awakened by various processes, such as giving charity, if the only aim and devotion can, if the only aim and let me just reread that. Sorry, guys. Devotion to Krishna can be awakened by various processes, such as giving charity, if the only aim and objective is the pleasure of Krishna. Dana means donations given to Lord Vishnu and his devotees. Vrata, observing vows such as Akadashi. Tapas, renunciation of sense gratification for Krishna's sake. Homa, fire sacrifices dedicated to Vishnu. Japa, privately chanting the holy names of the Lord. Swadhyaya, study and recitation of the Vedic scripts texts such as Gopal Tapani Upanishad. Other auspicious practices refers to various corollary aspects, bhakti angani, of devotional service. Since it has already been explained that the other practices such as of charity, austerity, and so forth, in themselves do not foster devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Okay. Bhagavatyuttama shloke bhavati bhir anuttama bhakti pravartita dishtya muninam api durlabha. By your great fortune, you have established an unexcelled standard of pure devotion for the Lord, Uttama Shloka, a standard even the sages can hardly attain. Commentary. Uddhav said to the gopis, "Your bhakti is very different from all other types." The term pravartita, establish, indicates that the gopis brought to this world the most excellent standard of pure love of God that was previously unknown on the earth. Uddhav continued, "However, following in the footsteps of your spontaneous devotional service, Raganuga Bhakti, advanced sadhana with attachment, will be spread as a practice in the future. This is for the good fortune of the people in general. Dishtya putran patin dehan swajanan bhavanani cha etva vrinitayu yam yat krishnakhyam purusham param." By your great fortune, you have left your sons, husbands, bodily comforts, relatives, and homes in favor of the supreme male who is known as Krishna. Commentary. Uddhav said, "It is my fortune that you have given up your sense of possessiveness toward your husbands, homes, and families, and accepted the supreme male named Krishna as your enjoyer. Sarvatmodikrito bhavati nam adhokshaje virahena mahabhaga mahan me nugraha krita." You have rightfully claimed the privilege of unalloyed love for the transcendental Lord, O most glorious gopis. Indeed, by exhibiting your love for Krishna in separation from him, you have shown me great mercy. Commentary. The gopis replied to Uddhav, "How is it fortunate for you that we have given up wealth and family to accept Krishna, the supreme male?" How is that fortunate for you? Uddhav answers in this verse. Pure love for Krishna, who cannot be perceived by the material senses, is very rarely attained. You, however, have wholehearted love for Krishna, which is perfectly complete and manifest in all its true aspects. In other words, you possess Mahabhav. Just as the sun spreads to all by transference of heat and the moon, just as the sun spreads to all by transference of heat, and the moon spreads itself to all people by transference of coolness, so Mahabhav spreads itself to all people by transference of its own nature. In this verse, the combination of the words sarvatma, complete, and bhava, emotion, reveals the characteristics of Mahabhav. Ujjvala Nilamani defines Mahabhav thus: when Anurag, the fifth stage of Krishna Prem, attains states of being conscious only when that Anurag attains states of being conscious of only itself, of its own taste, while clearly manifesting sattvic bhavs, and reaches its maximum possible state, it is called Mahabhav. Uddhav said, "Mahabhav is the seventh level of Krishna Prem, and it manifests in you gopis and in no one else, not even Lakshmi. What is it like? It is a special privilege which has been given by Krishna to you women alone, and no one else. By your manifestation of love and separation, you have mercifully shown me all the various aspects of Mahabhav, such as Chitra Jalpa and Divyonmad. If you had not experienced separation from Krishna, he would have never sent me here, and I would have never seen this great wonder." In this way, Uddhav describes the extent of his good fortune. Shruyatam priya sandesho bhavati nam sukavaha yam adhaya gato bhadra aham bhartu rahaskara. My good ladies, now please hear your beloved's message, which I, the confidential servant of my master, have come to bring here to you. Commentary. The gopis replied, "O Uddhav, in speaking about Mahabhav, What is the use of praising us and yourself? You came here to pacify us. So do you have some message from Krishna which can remove our sorrow? If you have, please tell us. Uddhava replies in this verse, as the executor of confidential duties for my master, I have brought a message from your beloved which will bring you happiness. So please listen. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bhavati Nam Viyogo Me Nahi Sarvatmana Kvachit Yata Bhutani Bhuteshu Khang Vaivyagnir Jalam Mahi Tataham Cha Mana Prana Bhutendriya Gunashraya. The Supreme Lord said, "You are never actually separated from me, for I am the soul of all creation. Just as the elements of nature, ether, air, fire, water, and earth, are present in every created thing, so I am present within everyone's mind, life, air, and senses, and also within the physical elements and the modes of material nature." Commentary. Krishna's first message, which gives instructions in philosophical knowledge, acts to reveal the unassailable strength of the gopis' prema to the most intelligent scholars, and to hide the greatness of their love from the dull-minded. Krishna said, "Through Uddhava, I am giving the gopis the nectar of knowledge, but it could not extinguish the fire of their love. Rather, that knowledge got consumed by the heat of that fire. Just see the power of their love. The gopis' prema has been proven the strongest because it has rendered useless the Gyan Yoga taught by me, the Lord of the mind and yoga. It is the same as the beginning. It is the same as the beginning of the Ras dance, wherein Krishna gives instructions on karma yoga. It is the same as the beginning of the Ras dance, wherein Krishna's instructions on karma yoga revealed the strength of the gopis' prema to the confidential devotees. At the same time, Krishna covered the true glories of their love from fools who presume themselves to be great scholars. Krishna cleverly made these so-called scholars think, the Supreme Lord, the benefactor of all, has imparted transcendental knowledge to the gopis, who possess the highest category of love for him, to make it possible for them to attain liberation. Due to the extreme confidentiality of this subject, Krishna nourishes the wise devotees by bestowing upon them the nectar of prema, while cheating the non-devotees by giving them intoxicating liquor. Thus, this verse serves a dual purpose, like the Mohini incarnation, who behaved differently in relation to the devotees and the demons. Now let us continue with the explanation of the verse. The Supreme Lord said, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. These are Uddhava's words. The reason is as follows. Uddhava thought, though I have great love for Krishna, I find it difficult to understand the meaning of his words. Therefore, I will reveal the Lord's message to the gopis as if he were directly saying it, keeping the ambiguity of his message intact. Krishna said, O gopis, you never separated from me, so why are you crying over and over again with a wish to die? Sorry. The gopis responded, how are you never separated from us? Krishna's message sent through Uddhava. I am never separated from you because I am the supersoul pervading all beings. All the revealed scriptures, the great sages like Garga Muni and the demigods such as Varuna say this. Therefore, I am always present as the supersoul within your bodies, which means that you are never separated from me. In this statement, as with Krishna's instructions on Dharma at the beginning of the Ras dance, there are hidden instructions on conjugal dealings in order to prevent the gopis from criticizing him later. Indeed, the day after the Ras Leela, the gopis criticized Krishna, saying, O crest jewel among lusty boys, why did you give us instructions on morality on the night of the Rasa dance? Krishna replied, O ignorant girls, on that day I was actually giving you instructions on how to enjoy amorous affairs with me. How did you foolish girls ever conclude that I was teaching you about moral principles? Saying this, Krishna then explained the second meaning as discussing conjugal union, of such statements such as Rajanyesha Ghora Rupa. That was in chapter 29, verse 19. Now, in the same way, after being separated from Krishna for a long time, now in the same way, after being separated from Krishna for a long time, at their future reunion, the gopis might say, "O Lord of our lives, why did you send Uddhav to instruct in philosophy when we were dying in separation from you?" Anticipating that, Krishna answers, "O unintelligent girls, I had Uddhav instruct you only in the methods of pure love. How did he conclude that I was teaching you about Gyan?" Krishna then proceeds to give another explanation of the present verse, which indicates prem, not Gyan. Your separation from me is not separation in a complete sense, but it is only in terms of the body. Since the word Atma refers to body, mind, intelligence, and soul, and since pure love is a function of the Atma, my Atma, in the sense of soul, intelligence, mind, and senses, is still residing among you all. It was merely my body which I took to Mathura. Similarly, your senses, intelligence, and mind, your Atma, reside within me in Mathura, and only your bodies remain in Vraj. All scriptures proclaim that I am subservient to pure love. I am not independent in the matter of love. Thus, the separation between you and me, who have a bond of prem, exists only in the separation of our bodies, and this gives rise to the sentiments of suffering and separation. Now, using that vehicle of separation, prem desires to increase itself to the utmost. Thus, even though I have great longing, how can I immediately bring my body to Vraj? But when that prem, upon reaching its desired level and exhibiting the mood of full separation, ascends to the stage of direct union, only then will I, being dependent on that prem, be obliged to bring my body to Vraj. By this, Krishna implies that their bodily separation will disappear in the future. The external meaning of the second part of the verse is as follows. But I am present in all beings, since I am the ingredient cause of creation. Within all moving and non-moving beings are the gross physical elements. As the supreme cause of everything, I am also the shelter of everything. In other words, I am present in each and everything, having entered into them. For the gopis, this part of the verse means, I take shelter of the mind, life air, intelligence, senses, and words of you who are always meditating upon me in pure love. Taking shelter in each of these, I manifest myself, and thus am always present with you. I'm always taking shelter in each of these, in the mind, life, air, intelligence, senses, and words of the gopis. He will manifest himself, and thus he is always present with them. All right. So we will continue with the rest of Krishna's words to the gopis tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtarashata Shishimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorkisharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura ki jai. Nityal Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupa Anuga Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pratata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Sārārtha-darśinī vritti ki jai. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura ki jai. Shri Bhramara-gi ki jai. Sarva Vraja Devi Gan ki jai. Shri Vrishabhanunandini Srimati Radha Ṭhākurani ki jai. Shri Vrajendra Nandan Sham Sundar Shri Krishna Chandra ki jai. Shri Uddhav ji ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Haribo Bhavatarani Mataji Indri Hariburu Haribo. Jai Shri Radhe. Okay, see you all tomorrow. Oh, and I think I'll go live this evening to finish the last verse of Govardhan Vaspartana Dashakam. Because, yeah, I want to start reading from Volcanic Energy by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. So, yeah, I'll do that tonight, this evening. All right, Hari Bol, everybody. See you tomorrow.